There's a lot of buzz, a lot of excitement around social networks, especially this year with the IPOs of Twitter and Zynga and Facebook all being speculated about and watched eagerly. Here's our take on it. As far as we can see, the social phenomenon is not a fad, it's a reality, because 750 million people are now on the social network. As far as I can calculate, looking at all the public statistics, Facebook is adding between 500,000 and 1 million people a day, consistently, every day. And there's no end in sight. Within 36 months, to paraphrase a quote I used earlier in this speech, substantially everyone with money and power on the face of the earth is going to be on the Facebook network. If it's not all, it'll be north of 95%. And so that's a very interesting reason we should care about it. The other reason we should care about it is because people spend a lot of time looking at this channel, an hour a day sometimes looking at this. And so it's become the new media. It's the television of our age. And if television subsumed and overwhelmed radio, then social networks are overcoming the broadcast networks. It's also where all the personal data is. We've actually got an interesting phenomenon where through the vision of Facebook, they have collected the world's most comprehensive database of people and their interest that we've ever had access to in the history of the world. And in fact, if I have a database of 1 billion people and I happen to know everything they love and everything they're interested in and what they think they're going to be interested in, and if they have all the money on earth and all the power on earth, then presumably every single company on earth that actually serves them in any way or has influenced them in any way needs to know about this. It's, there's 300 million people that spend money in the United States of America, every large corporation selling to the same people. So here we've got an interesting network that has managed to collect tables that organize people's name and their email and their telephone number, but also organize where they are and how they're related to each other and what they like and what their aspirations are and where they come from. The cost to collect that information company by company is prohibitive. On the other hand, Facebook has driven a crystallization in the economy, and the amount of information that they can inject into the economy and the amount of clarity they can inject is extraordinary, and they can do it at a cost that's probably 1 million times cheaper than the cost that any company can provide it. So it really can't be ignored as a data source. And then finally, Facebook has created a social graph, which is in essence the system of connections that we all have to each other. So the social network tells us who we're married to, who our children are, who our parents are, who our friends are. And if you go to Facebook and you type your own name, or if you go to Google, maybe that's a better example, go to Google and type your own name, you'll see there are dozens of you. In fact, the most unique name, there are still dozens or hundreds of that person scattered around the world. On the other hand, there's only one of you that has a relationship to the 1,000 most interesting people in your life. And so names in themselves are ambiguous, but relationships tied to names are unambiguous. And the significance of that is you can move a message or a product or a service or a permission around through the social network 1,000 or 10,000 times more efficiently. If I want to wire money to my brother, and I want to do it using the traditional banking network, I call my assistant, and she has to call my brother. He has to find his banking wire code instructions, and there's about 97 digits worth of them, and he has to get them to her without a transcription error. She has to transcribe them and type out a letter, print the letter, fax a letter to a banker. The banker has to hand it to a clerk. The clerk has to transcribe the 97 digits again, has to look up my phone number, then has to call me on the phone during banking hours. I have to pick up the phone, whereupon they ask me whether or not I wanted $100 to go to my brother. I generally say yes. They don't actually read the 97 numbers in the transcription code, if they did read them, I wouldn't recognize them, and I would have to rely upon someone to send me those 97 numbers, and I'd look at them, and there's still a chance I would get it wrong. A lot of people can't even read the 97 numbers without special glasses, and without sitting down at a desk and laying it out on a table and amplifying it or magnifying it, I probably won't get it right. As a practical matter, and I can tell you honestly, I've wired millions and millions of dollars around the earth, and I've never actually got to the stage where I'd cross-checked the transcription codes and the bank routing numbers with the ones I thought that I wanted to send to. That entire process takes about 5 people and 24 to 48 hours, and it's enormously painful. On the other hand, using the Facebook social graph, I could literally speak into a feature phone and say, send my brother $100. And in 2 seconds, without any human intervention, it would work with 1,000 times more accuracy. And when you just pause and you consider the consequences, well, how many people want to send their brother $100? Or how about send my wife the concert tickets to get into the opera tonight because I'm stuck at work? Or let my sister into my apartment? Or call my father? Right? There are a lot of things we do in this world that traditionally have been wrapped around a number or a very difficult, intricate process. The social graph accelerates that, accelerates the communication and the motion and velocity throughout the economy by orders of magnitude. There's just no other way to find that social graph right now. Facebook's created it. It's the first company in the history of the world that created that graph. It may not be the last, but it's certainly the first. If I actually tie that graph to any good or service, then I can create extraordinary virality. I can make many things, if not most things, viral. The company Zing is about to go public. They're speculating with a $20 billion or more market capitalization. It didn't exist 48 months ago. And in those 48 months, it managed to spread out to accumulate 300 million people using its games. It managed to get nearly 100 million people using the game Cityville in 41 days. It did it using the social graph. As far as I can see, it's the fastest spread of an idea in the history of the world. But of course, it's just a game. Right? It's just a game. How much faster would money spread down the social graph? If we were spreading insight, advice, transportation, or other sorts of permissions or legal rights or monetary rights down a social graph, presumably that's all a lot more interesting to us than a game. But it turns out the games spread down a social graph are worth tens of billions of dollars. I think it's just too powerful to ignore. That graph is organic, it's viral, it's networked, and it's not subject to any hierarchical law. So the fascinating thing is that governments think hierarchically. They want to issue a passport. Facebook is much more organic. The result is that Facebook has a unique set of user IDs, or a unique customer ID that ranges to 750 million people. The US government doesn't. There's no government on earth that has that uniqueness. If I needed to identify someone uniquely in the global economy, I couldn't do it with any database right now that's provided by any large corporation or any government. My best bet would be Facebook, and Facebook, as it continues to expand, is the primary index for people. We've observed, if we look at our customers, that our customers have large enterprise databases and large enterprise data centers. They're controlled, and they're predictable, and they're hierarchical. The database that a bank has, or the enterprise data center that a healthcare company has, they're subject to lots of laws, lots of concerns over security. There may be legal and regulatory requirements, and they've been developed very methodically by very educated people with large sums of money over the last 50 years. I would estimate $15 trillion or more. Trillions and trillions of dollars have been spent on this. I think $800 billion is spent every year just maintaining this stuff. And so by the time you integrate that over the past 50 years, you can imagine how much money is sitting in those networks. On the other hand, we've got this social network, and it's forming this social graph and collecting all this social data, which none of us can afford to ignore because of the extraordinary power that it reflects to our marketing, our sales, our services, and our security of our operations. What we've decided is that it's very, very important for us to help all of our customers find a way to integrate with the social network. And it's a non-trivial challenge. So we've dedicated hundreds of engineers, and we are dedicating hundreds of millions of dollars during the coming few years in order to make sure that we're providing the right gateway and the right cloud services and the right hardware infrastructure and the right operational infrastructure so that anybody that has a traditional enterprise application or enterprise customer or enterprise loyalty program can find a way to integrate their customers' persona in their traditional environment with the persona that customer has in the Facebook cloud. As I said, the first billion people probably have most of the credit cards on the planet. So we know that the billion people that are going to be customers of Facebook in the next 3 years are also customers of American Express, Visa, and MasterCard. We know that the billion people that are Facebook users also are smartphone users. So they're going to be customers of the top 30 or 40 telephone companies. We know where they shop. We know what countries they live in. We know what entertainment they're interested in. And we know that there's a substantial overlap. The question that everyone's asking is, how are we going to combine those two things? How do I actually create the socially aware credit card or socially aware money? How do I actually inject friendliness into my telephone or into my mail system or into my healthcare system or into my entertainment system or my gaming network? We think that that's probably one of the key, if not the key question of the day. And tomorrow, that will be the focus of my keynote. How do you actually create friendly systems that integrate the social network into your existing corporate network? And I think it's an exciting subject. We've made a lot of breakthroughs in that over the past year. We've got a lot of really cool technology to share with you. We think the gateway for Facebook is the first of its kind. No enterprise software company, in fact, no company I know of in the enterprise industry has come up with the idea of a bilateral gateway or a full duplex gateway that would synchronize and interconnect your network with the Facebook network. But we've done it, and we're excited about it. We think it's really good for Facebook. We think it's really good for your corporation. And we think increasingly customers are going to demand that all of their suppliers and all of their vendors be socially aware and sympathetic to their interests. And this is just a first but key cornerstone technology in order to bring these networks into alignment. So I won't say any more on that, but it's a teaser, so you come and see me tomorrow morning.